That's the time. Now look at today, things we were always in flux.
Yeah.
Always.
But we've always been here.
Yeah.
Fluxing out.
Flux. Exactly.
I had a question, but we run out of time. Listen, this is extraordinary, this documentary.
Oh, yeah. I agree.
What was supposed to be a respectful and powerful conversation with one of the most beloved actors of our time quickly unraveled into unexpected live TV chaos. Morgan Freeman, a living legend, walked into the studio with grace, but by the time he walked out, the damage was done. The stage was set for brilliance. Freeman had arrived to share insight from his latest Netflix documentary, Life on Our Planet, and fans were expecting thoughtful wisdom from decades of experience. But The View had other plans.
I'm one of those people who's very, very interested in this subject, life on the planet. You understand that today, life on the planet is in a little bit of trouble. And we're the cause of it.
That's right.
There have been, if I remember correctly, 6 extinction-level events on the planet since life began. I mean, 6 times, large portions of life. Not human life we're talking just life. Gone, destroyed. We're headed for another one.
And it wasn't pretty. Instead of honoring his legacy, the hosts dragged the conversation into shallow waters, skimming over the heart of Freeman's powerful message. Rather than exploring the depth and importance of his work, they tossed out careless remarks and tried to bait him into controversy. From the very first question, you could feel it. Something was off. The air in the room felt heavy, tense, as if the hosts were poised to pounce rather than genuinely listen. Freeman, ever composed, clearly sensed it too. Joy Behar, never one to pass up a chance to stir the pot, jumped in almost instantly with a question that felt less like curiosity and more like a trap. Her voice was sharp, her tone deliberate, and yet Freeman stayed unshaken. Did seeing the rise and fall of species change your perspective on life? She asked, but the way she said it screamed agenda. Freeman's face didn't flinch, but his eyes told the story. He saw straight through it. With that signature calm voice, he replied, "It didn't change it. It enhanced it." In that moment, the temperature in the room dropped. He wasn't playing their game, not for a second, as he smoothly referenced driving an electric car and reflecting deeply on the planet's future. Joy's smirk vanished, replaced with that tight-lipped frown she wears when her narrative slips away. And just as the tension thickened, Sunny Hostin stepped in with her classic bait-and-switch tactic, ready to push the conversation even further off course. Have a look.
I want to ask you about a different documentary.
Go ahead.
As some politicians around the country try to erase Black history, you're making sure people don't forget vital parts of our past, including this documentary that you executive produced called 761st. Did I get that right? Yeah, 761st Tank Battalion, the original Black Panthers, about the first Black battalion to fight in World War II.
First Black Armored Battalion.
Yes, and you served in the Air Force. I know that. This film was then very personal to you.
Oh, yes, heavens. Start in the 40s and move up. And how many times did I see Black people in the movies? And if I did see them, what were they doing?
There were servants.
Servants.
They were always. I know it's appalling.
I can give you the name.
If you watch old movies, Betty Davis movies are particularly, even though she's great, and
it's the period.
It's not her
time
fault.
that
It's
the
the
movies
period.
were made.
It's upsetting to watch. To tell you the
Well,
truth.
it shouldn't be that way
It
because
is.
somebody did make money.
Yeah.
Instead of continuing the thoughtful conversation, Sunny swerved sharply into race politics, blindsiding everyone watching. She leaned forward and asked, "Some politicians are trying to erase Black history. You're making sure people don't forget, right?" Bringing up Freeman's documentary on the 761 St. Tank Battalion, not to honor it, but to stir drama. Yet Freeman didn't lash out, and he didn't take the bait. He met it with quiet, unshakable strength, reminding the world that Black history is, in fact, American history. In that instant, Sunny's attempt to twist his message crumbled. Meanwhile, Whoopi just sat there, nodding faintly, offering almost nothing, watching the awkwardness spread like wildfire. Her silence was deafening, proof she didn't know how to jump in without making it worse. Suddenly, they all looked lost, not just uneasy, but completely unsure of how to handle Freeman's calm, steady presence. He wasn't giving them the reaction they wanted, and the whole segment was unraveling fast. Even when Freeman spoke about the rare sight of black actors in his youth and the frustration of seeing them mostly portrayed as servants, the hosts seemed more stunned than supportive. How could they not know how to respond? Instead of giving him the space to reflect, Joy forced her way back in with hollow laughter and clumsy remarks, as if desperate to change the subject without truly engaging. It was insulting. And then, out of nowhere, came the most suspicious moment of all.
Well, it's tenacious if we would just leave it alone. Leave it alone. And the human interruption of all of that is what's causing all the problems. I hope that it's not too late. But let me ask you this, Jim. Seeing the rise and fall of all these species, because some are coming in too, right? Mm-hmm. And many are leaving the planet. Mm-hmm. Did that change your perspective on life?
My perspective on life? I don't think it changed my perspective. It just enhanced it. Mm-hmm. Because for a long time now, I've been listening to what they say about, I drive an electric car.
Yeah.
The entire segment vanished from The View's official YouTube page, wiped clean as if it never happened. But the internet never forgets, and fans quickly spotted the missing clip. Why did they delete it? People demanded across social media, and the answer became glaringly obvious. They were embarrassed. Freeman had exposed them without so much as raising his voice. His calm, razor-sharp answers dismantled their usual routine with ease. He refused to play the victim, refused to be baited into outrage, and in doing so, he made the hosts look like the ones completely out of line. This wasn't just awkward, it was a full-blown collapse of control on live TV. Whoopi, Joy, and Sunny looked utterly lost, with no idea how to redirect, recover, or reclaim the upper hand. Freeman, cool as ever, commanded the spotlight with pure class. When the segment wrapped, Whoopi muttered something about running out of time. A classic excuse, but no one was fooled. It was painfully clear they wanted him off that stage before he made them look even worse. But then came the twist. Clips of the interview started popping up on independent platforms. Viewers who had recorded the broadcast uploaded it online, and suddenly, the moment The View tried to bury was being watched around the globe. Freeman's calm defiance went viral overnight, and as fans shared the footage, one truth rang out. Morgan Freeman wasn't just a guest, he was the only adult in the room. His quiet confidence clashed like night and day with the show's loud, scatterbrained energy, and the contrast was impossible to ignore. People began calling it one of the most painfully awkward interviews in daytime TV history, and they weren't exaggerating. The hosts, usually loud and overbearing, looked completely outmatched by Freeman's grace and clarity. One comment captured it best. Morgan Freeman didn't say much, but he said everything. That's his power. He doesn't need to raise his voice to own the conversation.
That's the time. Now look at today, things we're always in flux.
Yeah.
Always.
But we've always been here.
Yeah.
Fluxing out.
Flux. Exactly.
I had a question, but we run out of time. Listen, this is extraordinary, this documentary.
Oh, yeah. I agree.
This time, he didn't just dominate, he exposed them completely. While Freeman spoke about ancient extinctions, planetary cycles, and humanity's place in the grand scheme of nature, the hosts were busy fishing for political sound bites. They didn't want a real discussion, they wanted outrage, and he flat out refused to deliver it. Joy kept tossing out these smug, knowing comments, as if waiting for him to nod along with her alarmist views. But Freeman wouldn't panic. He countered with facts, history, and a steady tone of reason. That's what truly rattled them. When Sunny tried to twist the conversation into a narrative of victimhood and politics, Freeman stood firm. He proudly spoke of the 761st Black Tank Battalion of World War II, honoring their legacy, but he never let her turn it into a cheap headline. The silence after his answer was deafening. It was checkmate. And all the while, Whoopi sat uncharacteristically quiet, her usual fire nowhere to be found. She knew the segment had veered off the rails, but had no clue how to salvage it. The hypocrisy was glaring. While the hosts pushed their doom and gloom climate change rhetoric, they ignored that Freeman's documentary was a message of resilience and survival. They twisted the topic into panic, but Freeman brought perspective, and that terrified them most. He saw through every tactic and refused to a bite. Every measured word stripped away their control of the conversation. By the time the credits rolled, it was clear. This wasn't the interview they'd planned. It was the one they couldn't handle. The audience felt it too. Social media lit up with viewers calling it a masterclass in patience and poise, stunned at how off balance the hosts looked next to Freeman's calm authority. People were shocked that the segment was given only a few rushed minutes, while other guests waste entire episodes on shallow talking points and empty gossip. It was a disgrace. They had Morgan Freeman in their studio, and they treated him like a side act.
I don't think there is an issue of race in Hollywood. Somewhere back there in the 70s, the decision was made by almost all and sundry that we have to start open casting. Now, if you look on television, you pretty much see the range of cultural, that's not the right word because we all belong to the same culture. Anyway, but you see everybody. And I think that Hollywood learned in the 70s, here's reality. Isaac Davis directed a movie called Cotton Comes to Harlem. It made hundreds of millions of dollars. And of course, Hollywood is colorblind. It only sees green.
This wasn't some up-and-coming influencer. This was the voice of The Shawshank Redemption, Driving Miss Daisy, and March of the Penguins. And they fumbled it. Badly. But Freeman wasn't finished. Not long after that chaotic appearance, he took the stage at the Oxford Union, and that's when the truth came pouring out. Free from interruptions, he spoke openly about race, history, and Hollywood's evolution, telling the audience, "I don't think there is an issue of race in Hollywood." And the room went silent. He explained how the industry shifted toward open casting in the 70s, and that, in Hollywood, what really matters isn't black or white, it's green. He wasn't denying racism had ever existed. He was acknowledging that real change had happened, and that change deserved recognition. But that wasn't the message The View wanted. It didn't feed their outrage machine. The contrast between his Oxford speech and the mess on daytime TV was almost laughable. On one side, Freeman was given space to speak, delivering a powerful, nuanced message. On the other, he was boxed in by a panel too fixated on headline chasing to actually listen. The tragedy wasn't just a missed opportunity, it was the intentional silencing of wisdom. Freeman came to discuss survival, history, and hope, but instead he was shoved into a minefield of cheap politics and performative outrage. They didn't just waste his time, they wasted the audience's too. People tuned in expecting insight from a man who spent decades shaping cultural conversation, but instead they got a sloppy ambush that spectacularly backfired. And yet, through it all, Freeman never cracked. He never raised his voice, never lost his composure. He stayed calm, thoughtful, and unshaken, exposing The View more effectively than any fiery rant ever could. That's the thing about true class. It doesn't need to scream to be heard. While the hosts flailed, Freeman stood tall, proving why he's in a league of his own. Calm, wise, and fearless. At Oxford, he doubled down, not in anger, but in truth, reaffirming that while Hollywood's progress isn't perfect, the focus now should be unity, not division. But that's not the narrative The View wanted. His refusal to play their game was a quiet revolution, a reminder to millions that real strength comes from holding your ground. Even when the cameras are rolling and the pressure is on, people noticed. Articles popped up calling the segment a train wreck, a masterclass in missed opportunity, even a disaster in disguise. To this day, the episode is remembered not for what The View said, but for what Morgan Freeman stood for. He reminded us that history matters, dignity matters, and that silence, when wielded with purpose, can be louder than any scream. And let's be real, this wasn't just about a failed interview. It was a window into the deeper problem with shows like The View, favoring spectacle over substance, noise over nuance, and headlines over honest conversation. But Freeman turned it on its head. Without even trying, he pulled back the curtain and revealed the shallow game being played. He gave viewers a moment of clarity in a sea of confusion, and for that, they will always remember what happened. In the end, Morgan Freeman didn't just leave that studio with his head high. He left having flipped the script entirely. He didn't need rage to expose them. His calm presence did it all.